2 days ago, I told myself, oh, you got this speech coming up, better be ready. And then my voice just immediately left. So bear with me. This is a big topic, and people get lost in it very, very often. My goal when I created this was to boil it down to kind of the basic points. So that way, if you're working with a marketing company or if you're doing it yourself, you do have something that gives you a gut punch of whether what you're doing is going to be a good idea or not. Because SEO is a buzzword, right? I'm sure you guys get hit by ads and people talk about SEO constantly and you don't know who to trust. So here's some basics for you. So if you've paid for SEO or you're paying for SEO and you can't explain what SEO is, you're not alone. I talk to dozens of fence contractors every day, every week, and there's a lot of confusion on the topic. This is what I'm running into quite a lot. This is Rob. He's a fence guy. He's completely oblivious. He's invested in SEO for years, but he can't explain what they actually do. They talk a lot about, oh, here's all these keywords that you rank for. Look, your stats are going up, but the phone isn't ringing any more than it did if you didn't pay that marketing company. And then the most annoying thing that I hear is somebody, Chuck in a truck, opens up a Google business listing and they are immediately ranking higher than you. And their website sucks and their Facebook sucks and you can't figure out why that is. Why are they doing better than you when you're really trying? So just to define it, SEO, it does stand for search engine optimization. All it means is, are you getting found online without paying for ads? So they're not typing in your company name. They're not clicking on your ads. They're just looking for a fence replacement or install. And are they finding you? Are you getting recommended? If you can get your SEO right, it should contribute to your business through multiple lead sources. It should contribute to the organic rankings, which is where your website ranks. It'll be at the very bottom here. From your maps profile, which still gets the majority of clicks when someone does one of these queries. It should increase your lead conversion. So if they're seeing you in multiple places, then more people should be comfortable giving you business. They actually say a customer needs to see your company name 23 times before they are comfortable enough to give you a single dollar. So if you start popping up everywhere in multiple spots, you start chipping away at that 23 very fast. And then ranking in AI. There is a correlation between who ChatGPT and Gemini are recommending and your SEO result. That relationship is strong. It's not one-to-one, but it certainly contributes. So yes, it does matter. No, it is not dead, despite all the very catchy YouTube videos you'll find online. A couple realities that I want to talk about, especially in 2026. Google Maps is going to be your Google Maps profile is going to be one of the most powerful lead generation engines for you when it comes to SEO. If you are running Google Ads, you can stick a sponsored link in there, but the majority of, if you're in that top 3, the chance of you getting a call is dramatically higher than almost anything, than anything else on the page, period. The AI, SGE, Google changes, they still rely on real businesses. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to say this several times. Google's going to look at your site when they're deciding how to rank you. They're going to look at your site, all the things you say you do well, and then they're going to try to validate that information other places on the internet. The folks, because Google never sends a rep to your town and surveys customers and say, hey, who is the best fence customer? Who is the best fence company in the area? They're never going to do that. There's always going to be a disconnect between what happens in the real world and what happens on the internet. And so Google's looking to understand what you do and then revalidate that over and over again. So that's why it's important to own your entire digital property. I'm going to talk about that a million times. Your organic rankings, they're going to support your maps. They're not going to replace it. If you have a great website, but you don't have a great Google business profile, what you do on your website is going to support how well your maps profile ranks. They are cousins to each other. It's not one-to-one, but they're very closely related. So getting that stuff sorted correctly can be a huge revenue add for your business. That's how you win the near me terms. That's how you win the near me terms would be fence company near me, fence installation near me. Those are the top search volume terms if you're looking to convert the traffic into real revenue. So it's hugely important. And then the last thing, when Google can't validate a business, they're actively trying to filter you out. So if you're missing certain things online that make you look legitimate, that a legitimate business should have, Google is trying to deprioritize you and put someone else up there. If you're in a very competitive market, those things can be absolute revenue killers. So who I am, why this matters. I'm Alec. I'm with Secure Line Marketing. I'm one of the owners there. I work only with fence and deck companies. Been doing it about 7 years. We've got a book called Book Solid. If you come by our booth, we give you a copy. And we've got a new podcast. A new podcast called Post by Post. I'm just gonna show some testimonials just to show you that the stuff I'm saying actually works. And the common things I'm seeing that are causing folks to completely fail their SEO are here. The Google business profile gets neglected very often. So a lot of folks will set that up, but they won't fill it out all the way. That profile is a portal to Google understanding your business. It's also, you connect your website in there. Google is taking what you said and matching it to the website you attach to it. So a lot of folks are just completely neglecting it. A lot of websites are very slow and outdated. They're not optimized for mobile. Your name, address, and phone number aren't matching across the internet. This is a very annoying one, but you need to have your name, address, and phone number matching everywhere across all social profiles, directories. If you're donating to local groups, if you're in the Chamber of Commerce, it needs to match perfectly. You don't have enough reviews. Your website is only one page, or it doesn't talk about your local area. If anyone has generated their website using a single prompt, that's the number one thing I see, is it hardly mentions your area. It's very generic. And then weak topical authority. Like I said, we are going to go through this. We have plenty of time. I'm actually going really fast. So the main things we're going to cover today, it's called EEAT. This is Google's own rule. It's how they describe SEO. We're going to take what they say and we're going to spin it for local SEO, because at the end of this, I want you to all have very actionable items that you can apply to your website, to your marketing, in order to see your rankings increase and get the phone ringing. Now is kind of the perfect time, February. So for a lot of folks, the weather is going to be turning very soon and you're going into your busy season. So what Google is trying to do, and AI, one, that you're an expert in fencing, you have experience, you have authority, and you're trustworthy on the topic of fencing. And also, you have all those same things for your local market. So you need to be an authority both in fencing and an authority on your city or the main suburbs you want to rank in. They're both important. You can't really have one without the other. You can say you're an expert, but you need to prove it. So we're going to go through each of these four. The trick is, with local SEO, is to establish each of these four very strong and very independent from each other for both sides of the equation, fencing and as a local authority. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is, everyone knows who Charlie Munger is? Great. He has a philosophy that one of the best ways to break out a problem is to go at it backwards. So there's so much, the reason I want to do this is there's a ton of misinformation online and a lot of exaggerations and marketers trying to look really sexy on YouTube. I use that not literally. So we're going to run through this, and this is going to be rapid fire by hand. If your goal, I know everyone's goal here is to grow their business, show that you're trustworthy, show that your brand is the best in the market. So let's flip that on its head. If you wanted to show Google that you are not to be trusted at all, you wanted to show them that Google should not recommend you, what are some things that you would do? Don't show them your address. That would be way too trustworthy. People knew where you were located. Yeah. Anyone else? What else would make you look extra sketchy? Yeah, there's like 3 different numbers on the site. Or the business name doesn't match, like at the top of the page and then the bottom of the page. That'd be... I would say just chuck the E on there. Is it a big deal? Oh, Inc. You want to have it as matching as possible, just to have peace of mind on it. But I don't think it's gonna, like, especially with AI, it's not gonna ruin anything. That should be okay. What does it say on your Google business profile with the Inc? I think that with like Inc and LLC, and if you have completely different business names or it's some nickname, I would avoid. How else can we look sketchy? You've seen spam websites. I'm sure every single one of your market has spam websites. What do they do where you open it up and you're like, eh? Anyone have those? Misspellings? Yeah, that's a good one. Grammar's off, spelling's off. Yeah. Stock photos never look as trustworthy as organic ones. Hiding the owner or the crew. You can't find any pictures of them actually doing the work or there being a human being involved. Generic descriptions, I'm giving you some of them, some really bad ones. If a contractor comes to your site, what are some things? Let's say he's going to do your bathroom. What are some things, if you looked at him, he would look very sketchy? You'd be like, that guy is not going to do work on my house. What are some of those things? No uniform, yeah, pulls up in a convertible. So we're doing the digital version of that. So there's a lot of ways to look not trustworthy, and unfortunately, a lot of folks they haven't been pointed out as being not trustworthy signals. So actually, got this made. This sketchy guy in the Miata. If he shows up telling you he's an expert, you're gonna be like, yeah, no, like that's not happening. You're not even gonna be in my house. So how to look untrustworthy online? There's a bunch of different ways, and I'm sure some people are guilty of it. Right? You want to be as transparent as possible on your site, and then, like I've said, you want to validate that across other sources. So if you don't show photos, you don't have a gallery, that would look really weird, because every fence company has photos on their website. If you're not showing photos or you only show 2 on the homepage, it's a bit strange. If they're bad photos, they're super messy yards. They clearly trampled the landscaping. Like that would not be trustworthy. Highlighting bad reviews, no faces. You're not showing your license number if it's required in your state. That's a very common one that the spam, like the lead gen sites can't do. They can't show a license number because they're not a real company. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the lead generation websites? You all have those in your, no? There are, if you start looking for them, you'll find them. They are websites for fake companies that someone will rank. And then when they get calls, they try to sell them to real companies. So you want to make sure that not just for the customers, but also for anyone looking at your site, that it is obvious you are real, you're legitimate, you stand by your warranties, you actually live by what your core values are, and you're there to do a good job. So showing your license, showing the owner, having a nice professional website, picking up the phone, are all very important things. So let's go into some examples for you on how you can demonstrate the first part of EEAT, which is experience. Experience would mean prove that you actually do the work. So some of these are going to be basic. Showing a gallery on your site with real photos. We don't want stock photos. If you're here today and you've just started a fence company and you don't have that portfolio yet, you can start with them. You're just going to want to be active about swapping those out and then name your photos. It's a huge miss to not name the photos going on your site. So name the photos. Before and after photos are great. Number 2 is huge, and it's one of the most overlooked ones. You want to, if you're trying to prove to the internet that you are legitimate, then there should be evidence of, there should be validation of your work. Validation can come in the form, can come from external sources, it can come from you sponsoring, but it can also, you can validate your own work internally. This number 2 is just an effort play. This is going to be great if you're struggling with near me terms, or if you're struggling to rank in a certain suburb or market. Project case studies are a great thing to do. Take the photos you already take, put in some words about what the fence was and where it was, where exactly you installed it. You can mention cross streets in the description. You can mention the parks nearby or the schools nearby. Hey, this one's only 3 blocks from this school. And then post the real photos. If you ran into any issues on that project, you can talk about them. Post it on your site as a project case studies. And then, like I said, Google wants to find validation for those. So take that same information, make a post on your Google business profile about the same project, and link to the page you just made on your site, and then go on your social media. Someone's doing your social media. Hey, here's a project we did. They can take the same photo and post it on your Facebook page or your Instagram page, and that can link to the details, which would be natural. That's what you should be showing off a little bit. But it leaves a breadcrumb trail everywhere, and it starts building a case for you to receive. You're now putting evidence out there that you've done 5 projects, 10 projects in this one neighborhood. And so when Google's looking to find, hey, who's an authority in fencing and who's an authority in this neighborhood? Okay, well, your company has 10 case studies, and this company mentions it once on their website. You will start getting those leads, and you'll start winning those neighborhoods. So project case studies are huge. Number 3, who likes doing social media videos? Does anyone really enjoy it? Yeah, it sucks. I have to do it for my own company, and it's cringy, right? It like feels real cringy. It is more important now than ever. It's becoming just a cost of doing business. I'm sure when you started the business, there's a lot of things you did that were uncomfortable that now have become routine. Number 3 is that next thing. And the people who are doing it are paying less. If they're running Facebook ads, they're paying less per lead on Facebook. They could be paying less per lead on Google because their brand starts to saturate the market. So the play on this is very simple too. Google owns YouTube. They bought it. And YouTube has the most traffic of any site on the internet. So if you are on site and you see an issue, and maybe you're training someone to replace you, or maybe you're educating a customer, you finish talking to the customer, pull out your phone, say the same thing again into a camera, and you can post it on your YouTube channel, which you should have. You can post it on your website via a blog. So take the video and embed it on a blog. And then you can post that same thing on your social media. Do that one effort, and you can use it multiple times. If you're paying a marketing company, you can hand it to them and they can do it. Having these breadcrumbs is going to do so much for your local SEO. It's also going to do a lot for the ChatGPT and Gemini recommendation, because you're leaving breadcrumbs and all crawlers get impacted by these breadcrumbs. It's not just one. So number 3 is just the bull you need to face. In the live videos, do the easy ones. Just talk about, you explain something to someone, explain it to your phone second, and get it out there. Day on the job video is essentially the same thing. Real processes for your area. I want to differentiate one really important thing. If everyone in this room did a video on the exact same topic, the video should still come out different because you're not all in the same city. So I want you to be talking about, I'm not talking about here's a 6-foot white privacy vinyl fence. Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, hey, in our market, you don't want to install this because the storms are going to knock it over. That's the stuff that whoever's answering the phone probably says 100 times. You should have content about it. You talk to a customer, hey, I wouldn't do this on your property because of the slope. That's the kind of stuff, that specific stuff. Those topics are what I'm talking about when I say day on the job videos, real processes, real methods, what actually changes for your area. Because if you just post videos about a time lapse of your fence installation, you might go viral on TikTok, but you're not going to get more leads in Salt Lake City. You might if they are TikTokers, right? But you want to make it specific to your area. So, hey, in this area, we have these challenges. This is what we know. We've been doing it for 20 years. This is what we're seeing. So if you're one of these homeowners, you want to look out for this, this, and this, because this is the most common things we see on our estimates. And that's the type of content I want you to post. So you're a local expert and you're a fencing expert.
Quick question on YouTube.
Yeah.
How long should the videos be? I mean, if you have like a long video, should you segment it into smaller ones and post it?
I guess it just depends how much time you have. But 95% of companies I talk to are doing nothing on YouTube, and you can't beat something with nothing. So I'd say just
YouTube likes the longer form videos for the horizontal and loves shorts. So if you can do if you can do a really long 45-minute video, that's great. One big solid video is great. And then you break it up into a million shorts, link all back to the long.
And if you don't have time, post. Call it a day. Actually, we run a lot of Facebook ads for a lot of companies, and some of our best ads are much less refined than the ones we put a ton of effort in. They're really well converting because I think people in general are very wary about AI content. AI content is another way to look untrustworthy today for a lot of people. And so having that organic content like, hey, I'm Alec, I've got a fence company, here's a fence we're working on. I've got room for 3 more this month. Give me a call, I'll pick up the phone and I'll be out to your house today. I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule. So like 20% of the effort to get 80% of the results. So in terms of this, most companies are doing nothing. So you're competing with nothing. Some might have some, but I think I would say go for volume rather than perfection. Metadata is a nice to have. I think this is more important is just creating it and posting it. So whatever's easier for you. I know GoPro you can upload directly, so they make that stuff kind of cool. Cool. Moving on to the next one, guys.
Yeah, Rob, I'm going to jump out. So help me understand, this might screw up your sermon here, and I apologize. But like, what's the game, if I may? Like, why did you pick fencing? Why aren't you more like the niche is interesting?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, they asked me specifically not to sell myself on the stage, but the short answer is I worked very generally for a long time. I worked at a company called Procore before, which is a commercial software company, and then decided to go out on my own. And I was working very generally with a bunch of types of all contractors. And once you start seeing success in a niche, it becomes easier to not only scale, but also you're able to offer more at a better price because you're not a generalist. So because we specialized, my whole team is trained in fencing. So when I'm producing for a bunch of different companies, we can go faster and deliver more at a better value than a generalist agency because there are too many marketing companies. There's a billion of them. So for me, it made sense because of my early customers. I crushed it with a couple fence companies, and then it was like, cool. Like, can I do that again? Can I do it again? Can I do it again? And it became my niche. So at this point, we've, I wrote a book on marketing for fence companies. It's like way bigger than I thought it was when I wrote it on Google Docs. I wrote it, yeah, 250 pages, but not on Google Docs. It was way shorter before I converted it. So it kind of became the home for us. We started off local SEO, and then we moved into Facebook ads and Google ads and kind of a whole AI automations, and we just stuck with our niche.
And then I'll walk right into one of your rejections, right? Like, if you're working with a bunch of fence companies, how am I going to be unique? Like, how do you guys solve for that, or do you not? Like, I've seen some growth people doing, I can't think of the name, but
Yeah.
Are you only so many per location?
Yeah, we usually are. It depends on the service they're with us for. This is totally now I'm breaking rules, but if I won't, I won't take on multiple Google Ads customers because I don't want to compete against bidding against myself. Local SEO is depending if they're right next to each other, I'll take one, but a lot of times I can do separate sides of the city. Facebook ads, all the ads we make are completely unique to the company that we're working with, so I can support more than one. But I will let them know who I'm working with, so that way they like. I want everyone to play friendly. Yeah, short answer. Welcome. Hot seat, we call that. Okay, cool. Let me provide some more value for you. So expertise is the next part of EEAT. Like I said, you want to provide as much evidence as possible across the full formula. So this is the second one. You want to show that you are an expert. And like I said, on your topic, you're on fencing and then also on your local community. So just establish expertise, connect your history. Your LinkedIn and your Facebook profile should say that you own or work at a fence company. And if that's connected to your website, that's a lot more legitimate than a faceless entity. So we want to have it connected to the people who actually run the company. So update your profiles and connect them to their site. Technical writing, what I mean by this is you know things, you know the specifics. Anyone can go on ChatGPT and say, write me a page about fencing in this area, and it hallucinates like crazy, and it has no opinion ever. It's always way too encouraging. You're going to want to get into the weeds a bit about your area. So permit laws, setback requirements, HOA requirements, if you work with certain groups, put that on your site. It is very, very unique and it's verifiable. Not saying you have to post that on your social too. I'm saying if you put the permit requirements on your site and then they, in their crawl, validate what you said on the actual state or local government site, it builds up your authority because they know the more times you are saying things they can verify as true, the more they can trust other things you're saying that maybe they are having trouble verifying as true. So you want to have not too much crazy technical stuff, but technical writing does well because ChatGPT can't do it as well. Number 3 is local expertise. So I touched on this a little bit. You want to get specific. So local landing pages, this is a layup for local landing pages. You want to get specific. If a certain neighborhood has multiple HOAs, talk about them. Get their requirements for fences and talk about it on your site. Permit requirements, soil types, fence height limitations. It makes sense to have on a fence company website. And once again, it's a point that they can validate. And then number 4, industry involvement. You've seen this. This is old news, but if you are in the industry, you're going to the trainings, you are doing things by the book, getting the certifications for your team, it's nice to know. It'd be really nice to have on your website too. A lot of times they can validate that. Those lists of certifications are often online. And if it's not easy to find, link it on there. Here's our license. Here's the link where you can see it. Here's our trainings and certifications. Social media. Hey, we're so proud of this employee. They just finished the gate installation training at FenceTech in Indianapolis. And then you can link it back to if you have pictures of your team members on the site. These are layups for you. You want to make it obvious that you invest your time and your energy and your money into doing things the right way. So if it's about might be going in the weeds, if you should have a page for each service, and ideally you'd have a page for each neighborhood you want to rank in, separate pages. So your wood fencing page could have some technical writing about wood fencing. For instance, the difference between pressure treated in pine or pressure treated in cedar or imported cedar versus American made. Like those technical details make sense to be on a wood fencing page. Or if you're using the American made vinyl and it's a bit thicker and it does better with X, Y, and Z, that technical stuff would live on the vinyl fencing page. The local technical stuff will live on the page for each suburb.
Dumping all that information, like I'm explaining how there's 5 different townships and dumping all that information. Drop that for each township. Do you think I would be better off to just make a page for each township or
Depends on the competition level, and then also depends on keyword volume. So if you have a keyword search tool, it'll tell you what people actually type in. Because if they're not looking up fences by township, you might still be able, if you're not getting the results from that strategy and there's enough keyword volume, it might make sense to do that extra effort. But I wouldn't, when you're making the plan for your SEO, it's very easy to make a huge list of things when really 20-30% of that is going to bring you the lion's share of your traffic. And that's really what you need to dial in. So it'd be similar to that, just Is it worth the squeeze to do each township? Yeah. Okay, authority. Authoritativeness, this is your reputation and your recognitions. And there is some overlap in the EEAT. But the first is reviews. You need an aggressive review campaign. You just got to be aggressive on the reviews. It's not about having more reviews than everybody else, although that is part of it. It's about having a regular cadence of 5-star reviews. So if you get 50 reviews in a week, there's a good chance Google these days won't even post 45 of them because it looks spammy. The ideal cadence in most markets is somewhere between 2 and 5 5-star reviews per week, every week. And this cadence is one of the ways that new companies outrank older companies with more reviews, is they start getting this cadence a bit better. If you're not incentivizing, we can talk about reviews for a long time. I don't think I can here, but having a good review strategy is extremely important for local SEO, and it's something that you should have attention on. Things like your AFA membership, posting that on your website. They have a member list on their site. That is an easy way to get a link. You're all here, so you're all in the AFA anyway. Chamber of Commerce link is also an extremely easy layup, because why would a spam company buy a Chamber of Commerce link? They wouldn't. Google holds those sites in very high regard for each locale. And so having that link and investing in that, even if you don't attend meetings and get nothing out of it, is usually worth the money. If you win local awards, the best of awards, those are huge. Has anyone won those and seen their local SEO just spike after? Yeah. You have to? The one time? That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, if you can, a lot of times those local awards are done by votes. So keeping a regular list of your customers and just making that little extra effort, a mass email to get those votes for the local awards, that can bump your revenue from organic SEO fast. Local charities are great. So essentially what we're looking for with authoritativeness is they're looking to validate that you are an established business in the community. And they're looking on your site, but mostly they're looking at your backlinks, which I'm sure everyone's heard that word a million times. So the sites that link back to you, those sites should be either authorities in the space of fencing, or it could be, in a corollary field. But the easiest ones to get are going to be businesses in your locale. So that's why Chamber of Commerce is great. That's why partnering with other partners in your same market that aren't fencers, you get a link from a landscaper, you get a link from your material vendors or your suppliers, you get a link from anyone else doing anything in the construction field or not the construction field. Let's say you give a discount to a preschool or a high school that you did the fence for, and they say, "Do you love our new fence?" And they link back to your website. That stuff moves the needle. It's very trustworthy, and that is something that a fraudulent website would be impossible for them to get. And you can get it easily just by having a conversation and doing a good job and doing the things you're already doing. That is an important part of the campaign. And then the last thing is called citation building. That's essentially just getting your name, address, and phone number on a bunch of business directories on the internet. It's not hard to do. Your marketing company is most likely doing it, but you can also just go on a site called Bright Local and do it yourself for a couple $100 and call it done. And they'll get you on like 300 or 500 sites in like one go. You just submit it and they do it all. So that's an easy one for authoritativeness. Questions on this one? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would just tell them to fix it. Yeah. Don't worry. To do it manually is like, it's like painful. It's really painful. So just have a service do it, and they'll just fix it all, and then they'll send you evidence that it's done. Yeah.
Another question based on that. I'm trying to target a different market. Let's call it about 30 minutes away from where my office is at.
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of contradict when, trying to work on SEO for certain towns that are not physically?
Yeah, good question. So if you're trying to rank your business for a town that's pretty far away, there's Google Maps, especially in local SEO, has a very strong proximity filter, meaning the further you are from the person searching, the harder it is to rank in that area. So if that's a competitive neighborhood and you're over here you can't just be a little bit better than them. You have to be way bigger than them because that proximity filter advantage is significant. So if it's 30 minutes away and you think there's a ton of revenue there, it might be easier for you to get a virtual office in that town and get a second business profile and run the two offices. That might be a little easier than trying to rank way over here from here. Yeah, you lose a lot of leverage when it's far away. Yeah, you're probably in most competitive markets, your Google Maps profile is probably going to be maxed out around 25 or 30 miles if everything's perfect. So a 25-mile circle. And in really competitive markets, it could be even smaller than that, where you just can't go further because there's too much competition, there's too much population density. So once you max out on that, then sometimes it's better to have a second office. And then trustworthiness. Okay, cool. Trustworthiness. Here's some basic examples. Clear contact information, make it obvious. Warranties, license, insurance, that needs to be obvious. If you're in a state where a license is required, even if it's not required to have it on your site, get it on your site because you're operating at a disadvantage if you have a license and it's not clearly on your site. So get your license number. Reviews. You work so hard to get the reviews, don't let them live in one place. That's another one of those things that you want revalidated in multiple places on the internet. So basic things, once you get a review, it's very easy to make hey, look at this great review we got and post it on social media, and then also have a review section on your website that shows good reviews. If you're doing the case study strategy I talked about earlier and you get a 5-star review from that project, stick the review on that page also. Connect the dots for them, and you're really making a spider web that benefits you. And then real team photos. Sometimes I get some, I'm not going to say pushback. There should be more photos on people's sites of the actual team or the owners. In local competitive markets, if you don't have your face, your face, your estimators' faces, that is your number one distinguishing brand item that you have. And if you're keeping it off your website, you're sitting on an ace. People like, especially in local markets, people like knowing who they're working with. They like knowing the story. And sometimes when all things seem equal and one company has a great story or they can relate to them more, they're going with that company, even if maybe they're a little more expensive, right? So get your face on your site, your crew, your trucks, like things that they'll actually recognize that are real, is a great way to be trustworthy, to validate your true existence in the real world and not just online. So team photos are great. You don't need to hire a photographer to get those photos. Most smartphones are well and good enough. Just tell your team it's picture day, so they get a clean shirt and get those photos, some on site, some in the office, a couple people against a wall, and get those on the page. And it really looks nice to a customer and also just immediately makes you look trustworthy. Okay, cool. Great, so that was the big things I want to cover. There's some stuff that I didn't exactly know how to fit in that I want to cover in here. These are just high level. Let's see, 3:41. Everyone's awake, so accomplished my goal. Okay, cool. So these are just general local SEO things I want you to be thinking with. Keywords are a lot less important than they were 5 years ago. And the reason, I guess it's 3 years ago, the reason why is when AI came out and then Google released their AI, how things worked internally changed. And so if you've been in business a while and you've seen your rankings going all over the place, it's from this strong flurry of core updates that Google's been releasing. So, and if you remember back in 20 years ago, you used to be able to just put the same word 100 times and that would rank a page. Remember the old spammy websites? Things have grown a little bit, and in the last 2 years, they've accelerated. So it's not about just having the keywords on your site. If you want to rank for near me, you can't just put near me everywhere on your site. You know, fence company near me, that actually doesn't work. Near me explains, it's an adjective for fence company. And those, what I'm talking about, are called entities. Keyword would be breaking everything up by the word. An entity would be how Google understands language. So they created a giant library where they connect related terms. Think of, easiest way to think of it would be Wikipedia. You type in anything on Wikipedia, and then in the page is all the blue links describing everything in the history. Alexander the Great, Rome, there's a link to Rome. And it creates this web. Google has their own version that they developed. And so when you are looking at content on your page, don't get obsessed with having the same keyword in a bunch of places. Become obsessed with the entities. So fencing as an entity, permit requirements, post depth, installation, material types, gates and hardware. Those are all entities. And if you can show that you're an expert in more of those concepts as opposed to keywords, you're going to see the needle move a lot more in 2026 with how the 2026 algorithm works. So this is a very important idea, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I don't want false importance to be assigned to keywords anymore, because what's much more workable and honestly a lot easier for all of you in this room to deliver on is entities. Because if you sit down with an SEO person and they say, hey, we're going to write the content today. This isn't how we operate, but hypothetically, you sit down with an SEO person and they say, we're going to write the content today. I need you to put the word fence company in your description 12 times. It's like, okay, sure, let's just pop it in. Today, it's more about, okay, great, we want to provide a full and complete understanding of the topic of fencing. So let's make sure somewhere on our site, not on a single page, somewhere on our site, we're covering everything that a customer may actually need to know in order to have a great understanding about what we do. So entities are going to be much more important than keywords. If you can map this out and it matches how Google connects concepts, that kind of matching is what's going to get you ranking very well. Is that a clear concept? This is probably the most vague thing I've talked about, hopefully. I've said this a bunch of times. Google needs validation. It is very insecure, and rightfully so. With ChatGPT, there's fake stuff everywhere. So the way that you protect yourself from being considered fake is by validating the claims you make on your website in other places. So your social media posting has never been more important than it is now, because your social media validates what's on your website. Even though you created both of them, it's two separate sources. So you need to provide enough information that Google can give you a confirmation bias. Oh, if they said it, then it's got to be true. That's where you want to get to eventually. So take information on your site, make sure your social profiles are connected to your site, reuse that content. Your about links need to connect to your business across the web. So your social media profiles, let's get them connected to your site, because that makes a web. Obviously, you could word a little different for what's going to get you likes on Facebook won't always get you likes on your website. So you can make slight modifications to it. But in terms of quick and dirty local SEO, I think, like I said, 80-20 rule. So if you don't have time and just want to get it onto 3 places, I would do that. Just link them to each other. Consistency. The name of the game is consistency here. If you go home and have a giant sprint and plan out 30 days worth of content and then don't do it for a year, you don't expect overnight success from it, because you're building a portfolio of evidence for your business, and these are things that help. 46. I'm doing okay. Okay. We went over this. I just wanted to beat the dead horse just so I could hear myself croak a little longer. And then Google Business Profile best practices. One thing that everyone should do is log into their business profile, click on each of the boxes, and make sure that it's all filled out to the best of your ability. So services, products should all be filled out. It should match what's on your website. So don't feel like you have to make anything up, or you shouldn't go, oh yeah, we actually do that too, let me throw that in there. Have it match if you have a good website, have it match what's on your website. And then if you create more services on the Google Business Profile, I would create that page on your website. You want those 2 things matching. Make sure you have your name, address, and phone number everywhere. It's like I went ahead of myself on number 4. Post evidence consistently on your GBP and ideally your social profiles. I've said that. We've gone through that part. Everyone understands number 5 well. Okay, good. And then an easy one that a lot of people forget, reply to every review. The number of reviews is important. The detail in those reviews is even more important. So I'll give you a little sneaky, this is a little sneaky that some of you may be doing, some of you are not. When you ask for a review, if you can socially engineer the conversation to have them give you a detailed review about where they are and what they got, and then you leave a detailed review acknowledging where they are and what they got, it's going to do better for getting leads on Google Maps than just having somebody really quickly smash through a 5-star review. So there's a lot of ways to do that, but the detail and the words that your customers use in those reviews are very, very trusted, because those are all made with a Google profile that's usually established. You build a fence for Mary. Mary's had her email for 25 years. Mary decides to leave you a review. That's a super trusted source that Google knows the entire history of. that left you a review. So those are extremely powerful. So if you can socially engineer the conversation to include some nuggets, they're already going to leave you a 5-star review. Why not get them to leave you a 5-star review with a little salt on the top, where they're located, what they got. So Mary, I got a 6-foot white vinyl privacy fence. I live in this neighborhood. They did a great job. Rest of the review, reply to the review. Mary, we're so happy that we were able to install that 6-foot white vinyl privacy fence for you. If you need anything else, or if any of your neighbors in blank need anything, please send them our way. Something like that. The speed to reply is important too. So getting a reply is always better than leaving them to sit and not have anything. So I could leave that, but you can also edit the reply and add a little extra zhuzh. Busy season's almost here. I think you could probably just keep looking forward. I think it'll be okay. Yeah, I think it'd be better if they were the ones adding it to their review as opposed to the review replies. Reply to all of them. Yeah, all of them. It's one of the first things we do when we get someone new if they haven't replied to reviews, because it's so easy. Yeah, it takes like 10 minutes. Everybody wins. Okay, now I'm going to give you some advice about working with marketers, because we know these slimy weasels, can't trust them. So here's just some tips. It's a little outside of it. How to keep your marketer accountable without becoming an expert. And these are literally just rule of thumbs. 1, track the outcome, not the buzzwords. So what I mean by that is they're going to tell you your keywords are climbing. Everything's great. It only matters if your phone rings. Okay. Now SEO does take a while. If you're a new company and you don't have a website and you're starting from scratch, it is going to take a while to establish some authority, because there's nothing about you online. There's no way to validate anything you put on your website. And even if your website's pretty, all you got is pretty. You don't have anything else going for you. So it's going to take a while. But if you are a bit more seasoned, you need to be looking at have a way to track the calls coming in from non-branded searches. What I mean by that is you may get traffic from people looking up your company name, which is an organic search, but that can come from your truck. It can come from you wearing your shirt at the grocery store. It can come from referrals and door knocking. It can come from a million other things. You need to have a good way to track the outcome of your investment and not just keyword ranking improvement. Okay. That said, if you're brand new, be patient with the process. It doesn't happen overnight, and unfortunately, it depends on your market. If you're in a very competitive market, it can take 9 months to a year. If you're in like an empty market, it can be fast. Yeah, it depends. One of the factors is your domain age, because usually older things are going to be more trustworthy than the brand new ones. So if you're in a competitive market, you're brand new, you got this website, you have no social media yet, you've got nothing, you're not in the Chamber of Commerce yet, you're really starting from scratch. So you've got to start putting out those signals. So track the outcomes, not the buzzwords. Don't be fooled. Visibility comes before the leads. So you will see things start to improve, and then the leads should come in. They will give you ways to track. They should give you ways to track that. Visibility needs to rise. It's an early indicator, and then the calls come in. Google Maps matters the most in this day and age. How your Google Maps profile ranks. It'll rank differently in different neighborhoods, depending on where they're standing in proximity to your business. That is the number one acknowledged point and the most valuable digital asset you have for your business when it comes to local search. That's where you want to be focusing your efforts initially. And then last, you should always have access. This is a big bugaboo point for us. If they build you a website, you should own the website. If they're setting up analytics or your Google business profile, you should own that. If they're setting up a local service ads account, you should own that. You need to own all that stuff from the beginning while the relationship is good, as opposed to what I see too often. Things get a little ugly, and then you ask for the access, and then they go, well, in the contract, it says blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you already paid for it. So all that stuff needs to be yours. You need to own it. And it's part of being a good business owner and taking responsibility for your whole company is owning the assets and being responsible for their health. You are hiring the marketer to help with that. You're not hiring them to own your spine, right? Like you may use them as crutches, but they don't own your backbone. So you need to make sure you own these assets. And if you don't own them and you can't log in readily, that's a point you should have with them to figure out what it would take to get that stuff in your name. They can still do everything they're doing without taking the access away from you. I'm running out of gas. Okay, good. We're almost out of time. So fence companies that win locally, they're not gaming Google. They're just more clear, they're more active, and they're more trusted. Okay? So I have something for you. This one on the left is the EEAT self-assessment. This is going to give you everything. It's going to give you bullet points of what I have in my slide and a way for you to go on your own website and judge. We're good at this. We're average at this. We're bad at this. And it'll give you a score at the bottom. It's not a digital form. It's a download. Yep. And then at the end of that form, on the last page, we have some actions and timelines for those actions. Things that you can do weekly. Things that you can do monthly. Things you should be looking at on a quarterly basis. And then if you want to talk, that's me. And they asked me, I will leave this up for a second, and then I have a QR code. You guys can grade me. Hopefully that wasn't too long-winded for you. I'm open to any questions. Got about 700 words left until midnight. Anybody have any specific questions? We can rip it up. Yeah.
Question. Is it better to post, if you're just gonna post a photo, is it better to post a photo or post as a post on?
Post as a photo. Post as a post. Both. Yeah, double post. Because you can have like hundreds of photos on there. So just chuck it on there. That's the metadata. That was a little bit more of a sexy strategy 2 years ago, but I'm sure it still contributes a little bit. So, and it'll only take you an extra 30 seconds to throw it on there and then put it on the post. Yeah, I would just keep, if they're photos of your projects, I'd keep putting them up there as long as they're good photos. Yeah. Yeah. Then I'd put those up there. But if it's like, sometimes I see people post like, Merry Christmas with just like a Santa Claus, like Santa doesn't make it into the photos folder. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a whole gallery page with 100 different photos in there,
Yeah.
you label each one.
Yeah.
There are like not just on the page where you have
You should label all the photos. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's best. I wouldn't say it I know I've answered a lot of questions with it depends, because in this realm, you just have to be better than whoever you're competing against. And that's like one of those like nice things to have. I think it's an easy thing to do to just go in and, I have all my photos in Google Drive, so I can just, we can go through and just rename all the photos before they get uploaded. But it's an easy way to put in entities related to fence installation and entities related to location that you want to rank in, because you can name the photo from where the job was. So you can name the photo, we did this type of fence in this area, 1, this type of fence in this area, 2, and then you have, you're adding to your case.
Right, so when you upload it, rename it before you upload it, that's great. Then there's the alt text.
Yeah.
The alt text the image. And there's on the website, like if you have WordPress, whatever, label underneath it, like to it.
Yep.
That's the third one. Yeah, I mean, the first two are the most important. The third one is great, but it can make the page ugly. So there's an aesthetic dimension to it, but if it's by itself on a vinyl page, you're saying the vinyl privacy method probably helps the customers. I call you and say, I want the 6-foot vinyl privacy method. I want the photo on your website. So user experience, but the file name for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can answer another question if you said. All good?
One more question.
Yeah.
So if we do everything you mentioned, do it better. Whatever it's all, they should get better.
Yeah.
Are there any special searches? When you ask about Siri, they give you a best couple.
So that's connected to the AI search and the voice search.
The most direct way I've seen people do that is through the schema and metadata, which I left out of my talk because I thought it would put everyone to sleep. But that's a lot of the ways that they get on voices is through that. And then some of them have just those people calling you are probably, they're trying to sign up. There's probably a service that you could sign up for that'll get you into that faster. But yeah, the most direct way I've seen is through the metadata and the schema on your site. We do have copies of our book if anyone wants one. I've got a couple copies. Here you go. There you go. Yeah. Oh, thank you.